Hi, and welcome again to the Path to Profit podcast. I'm Brad Dobson. Happy to be here alone with my wife today, Dr. Minette
Woohoo!
Riordan. And we're excited to talk to you today about a new old concept, a new rendering of a very old concept. And that is the hero's journey. And we're going to talk about how the hero's journey can influence your marketing and what you sell, when you sell it, and who you sell it to.
Yeah, well said. I think we're done.
That was easy.
So if you've been following us for a while, you know that we recently hosted one of our 3-day Dream Design Profit events. And we were talking about sales funnels. And I had just this momentary flash of brilliance, right?
Genius.
I wish they happened more often, where I layered the classic hero's journey story over the top of the sales funnel, because I often see that where people get stuck is knowing what products to offer when, and which products are actually going to be the ones that are going to support our ideal clients on their journey and on their path. So we're going to share a little bit about our thought processes around this, because we've continued to play with the idea. And we'll ask for your forgiveness, as we might be a little bit sexy in our portrayal of this conversation.
We're not totally making things up, though.
We're not making things up, but we're still talking through the explanation and articulation of the ideas. And before we do any of that, because you got us started down that rabbit hole, we got our quote for the day.
Yes.
And we can't talk about the hero's journey without talking about Joseph Campbell. So our quote for today is, "The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek." The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek.
And that, for those of you that have studied the monomyth or the hero's journey a little bit, those words resonate directly with some of the steps.
Yeah,
on the hero's journey.
or all the way back to Plato's story of the cave, right? And the shadow and the ego.
I didn't study any Plato.
Oh yeah, well, okay. So I love mythology, and so being able to kind of integrate some of the passions that I have with some of the more practical business stuff is one more way that we're showing how you can connect your creativity to your business, right? This is one of the questions we get asked, is where can we bring more playfulness, more creativity, and more fun into our business? It's by truly integrating a lot of your different passions into the actual work that you're doing, and into some of the more boring or mind-bending parts, like creating sales funnels.
Sure. I think we should back up a little bit.
Yeah.
And one thing I wanted to make sure that we mentioned is that part of our process that we do in the Dream Design Profit Summit, or with other clients that come on board, is for them to identify their own hero's journey.
Yeah.
It's for them to put themselves in the context of, what Joseph Campbell outlines as a multi-step journey that is very commonly seen in different mythology, different stories. It's sort of an archetypal story, and everybody identifies with it in one way or another. You all have gone through this, and I'll put a link in the show notes just to the Wikipedia page for the hero's journey, but it's well worth studying a little bit. And there's also some fantastic resources about how you can see the hero's journey happen in different movies that you watch. And so what we do is, and we've done this ourselves as well, is to identify our own hero's journey, because what comes out of that is you end up with where your ideal clients are really quite closely aligned with your own story. They're just at an earlier spot in it.
Mm-hmm.
Am I saying that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so it's an effective way to identify your ideal client, is by telling your own story. And then the people that have a story similar to that are going to walk up to you and say, "Oh yeah, I get what you're selling."
And in a lot of cases, especially in the coaching industry, the healing industry, and I would say a lot of the art community as well, you will see people really using story, and where I think it could be used more widely is in other industries as well. And sometimes the clients that you're helping may have a completely different client hero's journey story than you do, but you still have to be able to know what their story is, step by step by step,
and where they are on
and where they are on that path. Because one of the things that we've noticed is that you have to be able to map out the journey that you take your clients on from point A to point Z. What's the journey that they're walking, and where do the products and services that you're offering align on that journey with the different stages? So we wanted to just briefly share with you what the 12 stages of the hero's journey story are,
Sure.
so that you have some context for what we're talking about. We're not going to go into a lot of detail. We found a great infographic that actually shows the hero's journey story for 6 super popular movies, which we've seen all of them and actually love all of them. So
all about the Star Wars.
All about the Star Wars. Guardians of the Galaxy wasn't on there, but could have been. But Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Spider-Man, The Matrix, they're all examples of hero's journey story. Even Finding Nemo is a great example of a hero's journey story. The Lion King is another classic example of the hero's journey story. And in Rick's books, right? Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. Every single one of his books takes a character on a hero's journey story.
Right. So this is not uncommon in most
Harry
things.
Potter. Forgot Harry Potter. Yeah. How can we forget Harry Potter?
Most things fit into this model.
Yeah.
So I think you'll see referenced in the world out there that Joseph Campbell had 17 steps to it.
So we've got it down to about 12 steps.
This is a 12-step program.
Yeah.
And we'll go through these quickly. And I hopefully you're thinking about Luke Skywalker as you go through this.
Well, you're thinking about Luke Skywalker, but simultaneously thinking about your ideal client. And,
or your own
which of these stages really aligns with the place that you're meeting your ideal client most frequently.
Right. So I'll just go through these quickly. In stage 1, our hero is introduced to a mundane, ordinary world. In stage 2, there's an initiating conflict. They go to stage 3, where they're hesitant to enter that special world and accept a call to adventure. Stage 4, they meet a mentor that may well be you. And the mentor introduces them to this special world and gives them some guidance. Stage 5, they pass a point of no return and commit to this adventure that they're on. Stage 6, lots of tests. They find allies, they find enemies, trials in this special world. Stage 7, they approach the innermost cave, and there's that cave language again.
Mm-hmm.
They draw closer both to the heart of the special world and the heart of the story. Stage 8 is the main ordeal. This is their greatest challenge and ends up in they go through a process of death and rebirth.
And I know he's going through this really fast. We will put links in the show notes to resources for all of this stuff. So don't be scrambling to take notes, or if you're driving and you're missing a step, don't worry. We'll have great additional insights and information for you.
So at this point, I think Luke has blown up the Death Star. Stage 9 is the reward. He experiences the consequences of surviving death and obtains the object of the quest. Stage 10 is the road back to the ordinary world with a final trial. Stage 11 is a resurrection, emerging from the special world, changed by their experiences and the wisdom they've gained. And stage 12 is to return with the elixir. The hero returns to the ordinary world with their special object, which they use to make the ordinary world better.
Lightsaber.
Yeah, definitely. Or, whatever it may be. It doesn't have to be a physical object.
Holy Grail. Right.
Yes, the Grail Quest.
The Grail Quest is another good one, right? King Arthur. I was a huge Arthurian legend fan as a young woman, but I also love the Indiana Jones movie, right? And we often show the clip from Indiana Jones in The Last Crusade where Indy is standing on the edge of a chasm and he has to take this leap of faith. And it's a huge part of the hero's journey story that you have to take that leap of faith. And so often where we can be of the biggest, most fruitful amount of help and service to our clients is when they're at that stage where they need to know someone's got their back. So they have the support to take that leap of faith.
Right. And I think, going back to this sort of list through of the stages, yes, we can have the impact at that point, but we're also going to have clients that approach us at any point.
Exactly.
In this stage. And this is really what we want to talk about today, is how you can map where those people are onto your sales funnel. In other words, for a client that's at the very beginning of that hero's journey, maybe you have, maybe it's just an opt-in easy PDF thing that helps them out with something, or it's a $1 loss leader product that you
Can we
have.
pause for a moment and go back and
Or we're going to
tell
go
them
back.
we're going to go back again. So circling around, we actually have a whole outline. It might not sound like it, but we really do. So we've told you a little bit about what the hero's journey is, and we can never reiterate enough that none of this stuff matters. None of it works well. And you will be spinning your wheels if you don't know who the perfect client is and know what their hero's journey story is. So we're assuming at this moment that you know who your ideal client is. And if you don't, and you need help with that, all the way back in episode number 3,
Yeah.
we talked about how to identify your ideal client. It was one of our very first episodes.
And I think we've probably talked about it with a number of guests.
With a number
as well.
of guests over and over and over again, because from our perspective, your marketing will never work if you're not clear about your ideal client, and you will be spending time, money, and energy trying to reach people that really don't even know you're an option, right? So going broad isn't the secret. Actually going deep and identifying this hero's journey story is the secret to marketing success. But once you know who that is, you have to know what to offer them. And you want to be able to sequence the offers in a way that every offer takes them a little bit deeper into their hero's journey story with you. So in classical sales terms, a sales funnel is simply the journey that you're taking clients on from the big wide mouth top of a funnel. If you imagine just a traditional funnel, right? From the big wide mouth top of the funnel, like Brad was saying, is a lead magnet, all the way down to the little tiny narrow spout at the end, which are going to be your highest end VIP clients, right?
Right.
And that's true whether you're selling fine art, whether you're a lawyer or a financial planner, or whether you're business coaches like we are. It doesn't matter what the product or service is that you're offering. It only matters that you have products and services that meet people all along the stages of this free, just getting to know you, open end of the funnel, down to your VIP clients. And I see a lot of people getting stuck, especially creatives, can get really stuck in thinking that they have to have a million products and services. And you really don't, right? In a really classic, well crafted sales funnel, 3 or 4.
Yeah, and those sort of correspond to the major chapters that you see in the hero's journey. I think it roughly fits into 3 major chapters where you've got, and you remember you learned this in grade 8 English about the introduction and the rising action and the falling action and so on and so forth. So yeah, you can align those different items with something a little more granular than all of the individual steps of the hero's journey. But
yeah, so I want to give an example of how I get clients, right? And how I move people through my funnel. One of the ways that I do that is through speaking, right? And so the hero comes to an event where I'm speaking. That's the mundane, ordinary world. Before that, maybe they saw my name online or in the promotion, but they don't really know who I am or know very much about me, right? And then I speak and they go, oh my gosh, I have the problem that she's talking about, right? And then maybe they come up and ask me some questions after, or they come to a breakout session, or they sign up for my email list. And at that point, if they sign up on our email list, they go through one journey, but they could also just sign up to have a conversation with me. So all of a sudden, the mentor is meeting the hero. And my job as the mentor is to show them how I can support them on their hero's journey story, all the way back to stage 12, returning with the elixir, right? And letting them know that they don't have to go on this journey by themselves. That's one example of how I use speaking to align with my client's hero's journey story. In that initial conversation where I show up as the mentor, I can see exactly where they're stuck, in which stage of the journey they're stuck, and I can meet them there. I can say, well, you could do this and it would help you with that, or you could do this, but I'm very specifically listening for where they are in their own hero's journey story. And what's the sticking point, right? Are they facing a trial, making friends and enemies? Or are they really close to the heart of the cave? Or maybe they're facing their greatest challenge ever And all they need is a little know-how, transformation, knowledge, or tool to help them face that challenge.
Right, right, right.
Just like Luke needed Obi-Wan to teach him how to trust the Force.
That's
right.
right. That's right. And I think, one thing that Minette said there is, well, it was all important, but the mentor in this case, in the case of the classic hero's journey, appears at this stage 4, but you can appear at any point. You need to think of yourself as the mentor, whether you're selling a product or a service.
Yeah.
You can still see yourself as a mentor that can help at any stage of their journey, right?
Yeah, I wanted to use Charlotte as an example and talk a little bit about how someone in an arts business can totally align what it is that they're offering and support their clients through the hero's journey story.
Yeah, definitely.
So we have this awesome client, Charlotte. Charcat's Creative Insanity is her website. We'll put a link in the show notes. Give Charlotte a little plug. And I've watched her go on her own hero's journey to really claiming her role as an artist. And what I love about her is that she really helps people get reconnected to their creativity and show them that it's actually possible to be creative. And so many of us have crazy stories from when we were kids being told you can't draw, or you draw a horse and somebody says that looks like a tree, not a horse, right? So
or maybe you just got frustrated and gave up.
Yeah.
Without being told.
Your parents heard you play the violin once and said, don't ever pick that up again, please. Or you got told you couldn't sing. There's so many beautiful creative pursuits that we enjoyed as children. And all it took was for one mentor, supposed mentor, to criticize us, and we stopped creating, right? We stopped trusting our own creative ability. And so through a simple process called Zentangle, which is a meditative form of drawing, Charlotte teaches people how to reconnect to their creativity. And it's scary for people, right? But she can take them through the process of starting to draw again, through sharing their art on Facebook with their friends and family, all the way down to where the reward is really seeing and claiming themselves as an artist. And at each of those 12 stages that we mentioned, Charlotte can walk people through this hero's journey story in a way that has them going from I'm not crafty all the way to I'm an artist. And it is a long journey fraught with peril, right? And it is such an inner game to be able to emotionally reconnect to our ability to create something beautiful and have the confidence to share it out in the world.
Definitely. So what are the examples of things that Charlotte might sell to people that are at different stages of their journey, their hero's journey?
Yeah, it's a great question. So like step 5 is crossing the first threshold. This is the point of no return, right? This is the point where they come to an actual physical class, that not just stalking her online and saying, oh, I can never do that. So she teaches live workshops. And so they might have started off by just watching some of her YouTube videos, maybe dabbling a little bit, but they come to class, they get their first art kit, right? And they learn how to do this. So they pass the point of no return, and they're continuing to buy supplies.
So back up, she had YouTube videos. So that meant those weren't things she was selling, but that met her ideal client on their hero's journey at an even earlier stage, right?
It's the initiating conflict. Right? When she posts something really beautiful on Facebook and someone else sees it and goes, oh, I could never do that.
I see.
Right? And Charlotte says, well, yes, you could.
Right.
And I can teach you how. Right? But the person is hesitant to do that.
Right.
So it's Charlotte's job to convince them how simple this process is. So when they actually are sitting in the classroom, so then she's introducing them, right, to the special world through her YouTube videos and her step outs and her simple processes online.
We're talking about Charlotte Obi-Wan.
Yes, Charlotte Obi-Wan. She will love this. I can't wait for her to hear this recording. She's going to think this is hysterical. But the point of no return is when they sit down and take a class and realize that they're totally hooked and addicted to making art, right? And what a process it is. And so they're going to continue to go through the journey of the innermost cave, may be the point where Charlotte challenges them to share their art online, right? And maybe their greatest challenge yet is taking a calligraphy class and learning how to write really beautiful fine point pen or painting with oils, or my personal nemesis, watercolor. I just don't get watercolor. I find it so challenging, right? So it's like they're facing their greatest creative challenge. Sometimes that challenge is your own inner critic, right? The biggest challenge that you face is your own lack of belief in yourself. It's a big part of what great art teachers are best at, great writing coaches, book coaches, is triathlon coaches, all of these things. It's about that inner game of helping people face their greatest challenge, right? And then they survive the challenge, they get through the other side, right? They actually make something that they're really proud of. And then they begin their journey back to the ordinary world. And they've been changed by that experience where they now always see themselves as an artist on a journey of creating and making beautiful art that they're confident to share with the world.
Right. So I think we wanted to show that example because to some extent it's easier to show the transformational example for folks that are in, quote, the transformation industry, or like
Yeah.
the coaching industry. But we wanted to also show it, and in fact, maybe we should go ahead and do that. But I thought it was really important that we show it in terms of a product-based industry as well,
Mm-hmm.
where she had YouTube videos or Instagram videos or posts that caught people early in their journey. She wasn't actually selling at that point, but it's important to note that she had something there for people at that level of their journey. And then, through all the other things. Should we go? You gave the example of yourself in speaking,
Mm-hmm.
but is it worth going through, or I think we should also go through one in the coaching industry?
Sure.
Yourself or us or one of our clients or
Yeah, well, or I'm thinking about when you were ready to train for your first Ironman and the journey you went through as a client and how your coach supported you through the hero's journey story,
Yeah, I
right?
guess that's a long one. I don't know if I really want to talk about myself for that. I wanted
So
to.
it's part of his hero's journey story is being able to share his story, right? So
Right.
it's probably easier for me, third party, to tell it, right? So but yeah, I can definitely give a simple coaching example. And there's all different kinds of coaches out there, and they all pretty much do the same thing, right? The client is often stuck, overwhelmed, um, has this journey that they want to go on, has a dream, a goal, something, whether it's weight loss, whether it's completing your first Ironman triathlon, whether it's growing a profitable business. We all take our clients through this hero's journey story. And the thing is that normally we're going to meet them actually at stage 2. So
The call to adventure.
at the call to adventure, where the initiating conflict has already taken place, where our biggest opportunity is from a sales funnel perspective is to make sure at the mundane, ordinary world level that we have really consistent marketing and visibility through lead magnets, through YouTube videos, through Facebook Live opportunities, so that when that initiating conflict happens, when the triggering event happens, you're top of mind for people, right? So if you think about that funnel, you're trying to pull as many people in at the top of the funnel so they're trickling down, right, to your higher priced products and services. But most people, like I have people that have been following me on my list since I had my coaching business. In fact, I had 2 conversations with people last week that I've known for 6, 7, 8 years, and they've been on my list all this time, right? Or one of them said she got off and then she came back on. Right. And so it's fascinating. People will follow you because they're in that mundane, ordinary world. And then when an triggering event, an initiating conflict arises, they think of you, right? Because they're like, oh, Minette's an expert in that, right? She can help me with that. So it's making sure at the top of the sales funnel, you're showing up in as many different places as possible, saying, I'm here, I see you, I can help you, I can support you on your journey, right? So all of a sudden they have this conflict, and that might be Brad and his story of, wow, I tried to do a half Ironman on my own, I didn't finish.
Right.
I want to do a full Ironman, I know I need help, right? But he's sitting in that place of frustration and fear of, I know I want this, but man, it's feeling really hard right now, right? So again, he started to look for a mentor. And so the mentor is all about painting the picture of what's possible. When I think about Luke and Obi-Wan in the cave, right? And Obi-Wan is painting the picture of what it looks to be a Jedi starfighter, right?
Right.
Jedi fighter, Jedi, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, a Jedi. So I need to go back and watch the first one. It's been
Okay.
so long, right? I think we need some binge watching on Star Wars this weekend.
Sure.
So it's just noticing, right, how the mentor can show up when your clients are in this place of conflict, when they're in this place of overwhelm or uncertainty. This is when they're online Googling for help at 3:00 in the morning, right? And this is where you have the opportunity to say, I see you, I get you, I can help. And then basically, after they meet the mentor, that first threshold is your invitation, right? So this is where they actually start to give you money or time, right? On their journey, they start to invest in you and in themselves through you by buying something lower on the sales funnel, right? The point of no return, they bought our $9 tripwire offer,
Right.
or they bought a $47 home study course, or they spent 3 hours watching your YouTube videos on how to do Zentangle, right? Or for Brad, part of it was reading all the testimonials from the coaches that he was looking at.
Right.
Right. So they were investing time in checking out the mentor. And then in stage 6, the hero faces trials in the special world, making friends and enemies along the way. This is kind of fascinating from a coaching perspective, because one of the things that I've noticed about so many of my clients over the last 5 years, I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of women, but what I've noticed is that the more that a woman grows, she tends to outgrow her community. She often might leave a job, or she rises into new positions of leadership, or her friends and family just don't get what it is that she's doing. And they're like, why are you taking a risk? You're giving up your good paying job. Why to go start this entrepreneurial journey? And so suddenly she finds herself not necessarily with enemies, but without support. So she's having to make new friends. She's looking for mentors and support along the way, right? In Star Wars, we have Han Solo and Chewbacca and Princess Leia, right? And there's this whole suite of characters that join Luke on his journey. They're all new friends, right? So noticing where you are and who you need to support you on the journey in addition to your mentor. The biggest job of the coach is supporting people through stage 7 more than any other stage, right? The hero draws closer to the heart of the special world and the heart of the story.
That's the scary part for everybody.
It's the scary part. So for our clients, this stage 7 might be one of the things that we teach. In fact, we're working on a new lead magnet for our sales funnel right now about this. Is one of the things that we say to coaches, the fastest way to grow your business as a coach trying to get high-end clients is to go out and do public speaking. And that's terrifying for people. Jerry Seinfeld has this hilarious quote where basically he's saying that when you go to a funeral, more people in the audience would rather be in the casket than giving the eulogy, right? Because people are more afraid of public speaking than they are of death. And so my job is to help them over that fear, help them know what to say, help them know where to go, help them have the confidence in what it is that they have to say so they can go out there, right? And then the ordeal may be standing on stage and giving their first talk live.
Right.
It's a classic example. I share the story a lot of the first time I got asked to go speak at a Rotary Club. And this is probably 10 or 12 years ago when I had my publishing company. I had 20 minutes to give my talk. I gave it in 10 minutes. I was so nervous. My face was red. My knees were shaking. I was sick to my stomach. I had slow down written at the top of all of my pages. It was not one of my most stellar moments, but I did it and I kept doing it and I kept doing it. And now I can't imagine doing anything else. I love it. Right. And then the reward, they start to get clients. Right. And they start to grow their business. Or for Brad, he completed a half Ironman on his journey to the Ironman.
I think the ordeal in my case might have been the Ironman itself.
Well, maybe, but you kind of had to finish one first, right? You had to face your own inner fears about being able to complete any Ironman, right? Before you got to the, so I don't know, in some ways the reward for you was crossing that finish line and having them shout, Brad Dobson, you are an Ironman, right? And then there's the road back. So no matter how much support we offer our clients as coaches, where they are in the journey, there's setbacks. Think about the weight loss journey. People plateau, right? Or people fall off the wagon and start back to binge eating again, or whatever it is their challenge is, right? The road back from that success isn't always exciting and easy and smooth. So you've stepped out of your comfort zone and it freaks you out. So you step back into that comfort zone again. And it's our job as coaches to make sure we're supporting them in that journey along the way. It's why you often will hear that conversation, I've invested in every program out there, nothing works for me. Right? In my own weight loss journey, I've tried everything. Nothing is working for me. It's a story that I'm telling myself, right? Is this road back. And then the resurrection, emerging from the special world changed by their experiences and the wisdom they've gained. From a marketing perspective, this is your sweet spot. This is where your clients are excited. They're reaping the rewards of working with you, finishing an Ironman, losing weight, making money in their business, speaking on stages, writing a book.
This is where you're getting their testimonials.
This is where you're getting not just their testimonials, but also where they're starting to talk about you.
Yes.
Right? Where they're out there singing your praises as their mentor on this journey. And then stage 12 is they're moving on. They're returning to the ordinary world, but they have the tools, the learning, the know-how, the wins under their belt, right? The confidence and the success to move on, right? So that's kind of an example of a coach and how a coach would walk a client through that journey, whether that coach is, doesn't matter what the industry is.
I love it. I think we brought up some cogent points here today. like we said at the beginning, we feel like we are, this is still germinating, this idea, but we're pretty excited about it. We think that it's an incredibly effective tool to overlay your ideal client, their hero's journey, and your sales funnel, and know what you could be providing different inbound clients at the different levels of their journey, at the different points in their journey. Because, I think we all want to see our clients as heroes on a journey that are going to succeed. Mm-hmm. Whether that success is simply being able to use your product effectively, or whether that success is a huge personal transformation. When we can view them as heroes, when we can meet them where they are, when they are on the journey, and affect that change, it's more business for us. It's more wins for them, more wins for us.
So true. It was funny because when you were, I don't know, you said something, and I was thinking about, we talked about the baby bathtub, right? And that hero's journey story about how just making mom's life easier is such a hero's journey
at bath time.
At bath time. But then I also thought about something as simple as sticky notes changed people's lives, right? It changed how we do business, how we think, how we can play with our ideas, right? There's so many paper clips, right? There's so many tiny little products that have had life-changing impact, is because they're conscious at the innovation stage of the impact that this product could have. It's solving a problem, whether it all starts with solving a problem for themselves personally and then grows from there, or whether it starts with this consciousness of watching. I think the guy that invented sticky notes said, he was watching people in the office and seeing their frustration, and, that it wasn't working, and how something as simple as a sticky note could increase efficiency, creativity, brainstorming, all kinds of amazing things on this hero's journey story from a sticky note. So no matter what it is that you're creating, it totally can align with the hero's journey story. So have fun playing with this, and we'd love some feedback. So either go to our blog and give us some feedback on the podcast, or even better, we'd love to have some comments on iTunes. So if you could head on over to iTunes and leave us a comment and let us know what you thought about this episode and our crazy idea of aligning sales funnels with the hero's journey story.
All right, guys. Talk to you later.
Bye.